Hi, Mike.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Recover from Comic-Con at home yet?
Yeah, I guess so. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too hectic.
Cool. So where do you want to start today?
Let's start with the delay of the Star Wars movies, theatrical movies, which were supposed to start coming out like 2.5 years from now, Christmas 2022, and now they've been delayed to starting Christmas 2023, and then they'll be, well, as of the dates right now, they're alternating every other year after that, and then alternating with the Avatar movies, the Avatar sequels.
Hmm. So I guess this isn't surprising, right? Considering everything going on.
I guess not. Yeah, everything's just getting pushed back by a year, right? So
Yeah.
just pretend 2020 didn't happen.
Which I often do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was part of his whole slate thing. So it wasn't, it's not like there's problems with Star Wars or whatever stupid headlines you might see out there. But just everything got pushed back a year essentially. You
Well,
know.
you brought up a good point in another chat where, I think they had pushed back Star Wars Celebration to summer 2022, and that would have lined up with the release of the movie that year, but now they're going to be off by a year again. So,
Yeah. Although you never know, right? Like you never know what's gonna happen with I mean, especially these days.
right.
We make all sorts of plans, but um so
Yeah.
I guess I mean it's the biggest news, but there's not a whole lot to say.
Yeah. And I feel like I mean, you know better than I do, but I think the dates that they pick are just kind of like staking a claim on, like, we're
Yeah,
calling this date, so nobody else go there,
right,
and we're free to
exactly.
move it wherever we want or replace it with something else.
Well,
But this is
like
our date.
they date movies that don't have names, directors, like untitled Disney live action film. Like it just marking the territory.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't But we did get some fun news out of Comic-Con regarding the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. So Amy Ratcliffe is writing a book called The Art of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which I want to, thinking back to Star Wars Celebration 2019, last year, a little over a year ago, I think for sure, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought they teased the existence of this book at the Lucasfilm Publishing panel. So I thought it was like, oh, cool, we're going to get another art of book, but it'll be about Galaxy's Edge. And then we never heard about it again until this past week when they kind of confirmed its existence and told us that Amy Ratcliffe was going to be writing it or has written it. And yeah, I'm really psyched to get my hands on this. I hope that it has a lot of stuff in it that we haven't seen before. Because I know I've seen like early concept art where the land was going to be set in the original trilogy era with, like, they had the Imperial stormtroopers and the Imperial shuttle and stuff instead of the TIE echelon. So I'm curious to see like how this developed over time, and obviously they're pretty secretive about certain things, but I hope this kind
Yeah,
of open that.
I mean, usually it takes a while for like the true story to get out, but I am curious. Originally we know Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be other places, like literally in the parks, but then I feel like we know a fair amount more than most about how this project kind of developed, at least officially, the official line of it. But just because of the size of it, and just there was more interviews, there was more publicity, all that. But I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm just curious as to their process. Like, why did they make the decisions they made? At least officially, I'm sure there's politics and everything like normal, but what was the evolution? How did they, because one thing about Imagineering, you might not always agree with their choices, but their choices always have reason. Like there's not, they don't just go like, make it blue, right? Like there's a reason they picked that color. Might be a stupid reason, but there's a reason. And, I'm curious. And, I think they did a great job with Galaxy's Edge. I'm not saying that to be critical of it, but I'm curious to see, especially since it's a project kind of unlike most, where Imagineering is working hand in hand with Lucasfilm and people are making movies at the same time, which typically, even if Disney's making a franchise attraction, they'll work with Pixar and whatnot. But because this is a whole new land, it's not like recreating Radiator Springs where, you go to look at the movie, maybe they'll provide some assets from the movie, flush out some things. Like, this is all from scratch. So they were working with Lucasfilm far earlier in this process and much more collaboratively than, a project that's based on a movie. So you have that, it's not as much a creative decision as much as, making sure it's evocative of something.
Right, and also I want to say it's the first time that a theme park land has been immediately and officially like canonized within the world of the universe, the fictional universe that it takes place. So
yeah, well,
pretty unique.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but me and canon have a whole complicated history.
Fair enough.
What's next?
What's next? Let's see. We got the High Republic. They released some new character concept art. There's a Trandoshan Jedi. His name is Skier. And they also had some art of one of the other characters that had been revealed before, Avar Chris. It's just new concept art, and they were just telling us a little bit more. I think their plan right now, because High Republic got pushed back to the beginning of next year, they're just kind of going to give us a little taste every once in a while. They're going to release a little bit more information. I know, like the first chapter, was it the first chapter of the first novel came out a few weeks ago, and I don't really want to read the first chapter and then have to wait 6 months or whatever. But yeah, they're just going to give us a little teaser every here and there.
What's this about? This is not from
not the High Republic. It's Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, the VR experience from ILM, XLab, and Oculus, where you're going to be able to explore Batu and I think kind of go beyond the boundaries of Blackspire Outpost where the land takes place. But you're also going to visit another cantina that's not Oga's Cantina. And people have pointed out that this one looks like it's on a second level, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are reading into this a lot. I saw a rumor that they might be teasing the existence of plans for building a second cantina. I don't know how legitimate that is, but it's interesting that to me, it's interesting, like story-wise, that there's another cantina in Blackspire Outpost, because Oga Gara, who runs Oga's Cantina, is kind of like a crime boss, and she controls the comings and goings of the whole city. So it would seem odd to me that she would let a competing cantina kind of exist, especially so close to hers, because now this concept art was revealed with the casting announcement that Bobby Moynihan would be playing this character, Cecil Slack. You see kind of in the background there behind the bar. But in the trailer, he says he can see the Millennium Falcon parked outside. So that leads me to believe this is like either like right around the corner or like right on top of Oga's Cantina. So I'm very curious to find out more about that. And then they also said Deborah Wilson from Mad TV fame, and she's also in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, as a voiceover actress. She'll be playing another role as a pirate. I think you just showed the previous concept art there was, yeah, that's her character there.
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of scary.
This is more inside of Cecil Slack's cantina. And you can see, so if you move the cursor there to just to point out the view through the back side of the cantina there, yeah, you can see that's Docking Bay 7 restaurant, where that ship is parked on the roof. So this kind of gives you an indicator of where this cantina is located. I'm not sure where they would put it exactly in the park.
At Hollywood Studios, this would basically be where the Golden Girls house was.
Right.
Which makes me think, who should play the hostess of the cantina? B. Arthur.
B. Arthur, yeah. And she would be reprising a role that she had.
Yeah. Hashtag it's all connected.
Is B. Arthur still alive?
No.
Okay.
But when has that stopped us?
That's true. Yeah. Talk to Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
And this was another location concept art from the VR series. I think it's like a card table or something. So hopefully get to play some sabacc. And then these are the Guavian death gang that we saw in The Force Awakens. Looks like they have a sub category, sub chapter on Batu.
Cool.
Another Trandoshan and Quarren, I guess.
So this is going to Oculus?
Yeah, this is coming out, I think they said later this year on Oculus Quest. Not sure if it's coming to the Rift as well, but I think they said the Quest.
Cool.
And then next up we got... Oh, I reviewed the Shadows of the Empire vinyl that just came out. I was super excited to get this because I had the CD when I was 16 years old. And this was a multimedia project that Lucasfilm did in the mid 90s to kind of fill the gap before the special editions came out by about 6 or 7 months, and then it was before the prequels started coming out by a few years. But this took place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and it kind of filled in that gap between those two movies. What happened to the characters? Introduced this character, Prince Shizor. You can see that green guy there. And he's like another crime boss kind of guy who has a palace on Coruscant. But they just re-released the soundtrack, which was written for no movie. You know, this composer Joel McNeely, who's done, he did the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles for Lucasfilm, and then they brought him in to do this Shadows of the Empire, which I actually think, like, listening to it now, I'm really impressed by the score that this guy wrote. Just having read, I think he just read the novel that they did, and then he wrote the score based on that. And it's like 51 minutes long. It's a full-length score, you know, and it has like little elements of the John Williams stuff. Like it opens with the main title theme, obviously, and then you hear like bits of Darth Vader, Imperial March play throughout. But it's mostly like completely original other than that. So it's really, really impressive. You feel like he really went above and beyond in creating this score for no movie, for the movie that didn't exist. So that's a cool vinyl to get. Just came out. Then I reviewed Star Wars Darth Vader #3, the new comic book last week. Was that last week? No, it was 2 days ago. So I really like this issue. This is they're really going to great lengths now to tie the prequels into the original trilogy. It's kind of going backwards to make those connections, but I actually really appreciated it. And Darth Vader and Sabe, the handmaiden, who's now aged, they're 25 years or whatever, have teamed up, and they go back to Naboo, and they meet some other characters there's John Bishop. They meet some other characters that we hadn't seen since the prequels, and it was just really fun and really almost kind of fan servicey. A lot of these references and you go to visit familiar locations. Yeah, it's cool to see, you know, because I just read those books about the handmaidens, the Queen's Shadow and Queen's Peril, and now this is dealing with one of them, the one that was played by Keira Knightley, I think. So now this is it between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, though.
So I'm guessing it kind of plays up on the whole, she looked like Padme, so...
Yeah, well, the whole thing in the comic is that Vader keeps having visions of Padme because he's tortured by, you know, whatever happened to her. He didn't really see how she died, and he's kind of investigating, trying to figure out how exactly did she die after he last saw her. Because the Emperor told him that Padme had died and stuff, but now Vader's like trying to get the exact facts right, and he stumbles across Sabe, who's I think also kind of trying to figure out what happened to Padme, and he thinks that she's her. Initially, he thinks that she's Padme, but
makes sense. That was her job.
Yeah, and and then they figure out what the truth is, and then they're kind of working together. But there's a twist at the end of this issue that I don't want to spoil. John says something about the Afra audiobook. Yeah, good stuff to read, to listen to as well.
Yeah.
Then we're just seeing your email.
Yeah, no, there we go. Mandalorian had some news come out this week too, even though we're still a couple months away from new episodes.
Yeah, 15 Emmy nominations. I was not expecting that at all. At all. I thought maybe
best in drama, like not like you're not just getting like special visual effects or something.
And listen, I love The Mandalorian. I think it's like right up my alley, but I thought it was gonna like fly under the radar as far as like the Emmys and any kind of like prestige goes. I thought they would just ignore it. And I thought maybe a couple technical awards it would get nominated for, but yeah, best original, best drama series up there with all the big boys, you know. So and a ton like acting guest star Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon. Then you had Taika Waititi getting a nomination for playing IG-11. And yeah, just there's like art direction and costume design, I think, and stuff. So wow, it's going to be the year of the Mandalorian at the Emmys. I hope it wins some of them at least.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe the nomination is the win for the Mandalorian.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not the sort of typical award bait,
right.
You know, especially for a drama category where, you know, there's heavy stuff out there. But yeah, I think it's exciting for it to get recognized, considering how groundbreaking. Like, I think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to look back and realize how groundbreaking it was.
Oh, definitely.
Like prequels, we look back at least from a visual effects standpoint and see how that was a necessary step to get where we're at today. And
well, I don't think people watching The Mandalorian for the first time, and I experienced this too. When I watched it for the first time, I didn't realize how groundbreaking it was until the Disney Gallery series came out, really. And I saw that episode where they talked about the volume for the first time, and I kind of knew they had done something like that, but once I understood really how it was working, I was like, well, this is the next 100 years of filmmaking. This is how it's going to go, and the Mandalorian's a big part of that for sure. So absolutely,
we did get some bad news from regarding the Mandalorian.
Yeah, so they had just announced this publishing initiative for the Mandalorian, where we were going to get comics and a novel and stuff, and then I don't know how many weeks later. It hasn't been that long since the announcement, but now it's delayed until September of next year, right? So
yeah, it feels like they went in a different creative direction, because it's obviously went from being sort of during season 2 to being between season 2 and season 3. And
yeah,
you know, I don't know what happened, obviously, but it does feel like, you know, it's not delayed 3 months; it's delayed basically a year.
Yeah,
and
page one rewrite.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's, and I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe Jon Favreau saw it and was like, "No, we should do something different with it." I mean, you know, went in a different direction or whatnot. So, it's. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. There's, you know, as Mike is learning, there's plenty of Star Wars books out there, and
that's true. That's true.
And you know,
I've got like 3 I need to read in the next 3 weeks. So
yeah, better to do it right than fast.
I hope the comics they haven't mentioned that the comics were delayed, just the novel. So
yeah, and I feel like you can adjust a comic faster, right? Like, you know, it's not prose. You don't have to name everything. So who's the boss this week?
This week we got George Mann, the writer of Star Wars Dark Legends, which I just reviewed that last week or this week on laughingplace.com. And Dark Legends is do I have it here? It's in the other room. The book, I really enjoyed it. It's a different kind of thing. I really like that they go these kind of weird directions sometimes with these Star Wars books, but Dark Legends is just a collection of short stories that are like scary stories that you would tell a kid, but in the Star Wars universe. So there's like one that's almost kind of like a Slender Man story, but he's a Sith Inquisitor coming to like kidnap children. And then there's like a Wolfman werewolf story. There's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, but it's like a Jedi, and he's like light side and dark side. I thought that was a really like clever idea that I had never thought. I mean, I may have just spoiled that story, but you know, as soon as you start reading, you're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. But I just thought that was so clever, and it's each one's really short, but the whole book took me like 2.5 hours to get through, so it's not long, and I'm a slow reader. But yeah, I dug it. I'm looking forward to talking to this guy and asking him how he came up with some of these, because I think it's pretty clever stuff. And this is the kind of pseudo sequel to Star Wars Myths and Fable, that came out last year. So it's a neat idea, and it's different. It doesn't feature that many of like very familiar characters. It's a lot of like background people and things that would happen like off screen or different eras and stuff. So I like that. The other Mandalorian news I wanted to talk about though was the announcement of the box set of the vinyl records, which I kept asking for. If you listen to my podcast, I kept going like, why aren't they putting out a box set of that first season on vinyl? So I'm super, super excited to get my hands on that. I love the music in The Mandalorian. I really love how they kind of went in that more Western direction a little bit. And it's different from all the John Williams stuff, you know. So,
yeah, but it doesn't feel out of place either. It's definitely different. It's definitely got a definite Western kind of twang to it. Yeah. But you don't listen and go like, that's not Star Wars. Like, it's just a different angle. It's like if you looked at it through kind of like a filter.
Absolutely.
So
that's coming from Mondo, by the way.
Yeah. So coming this week, we got another Star Wars book you're working on about Poe Dameron, right?
Yeah, I got to read that this weekend. Star Wars Poe Dameron, Free Fall by Alex Segura, and this is about Poe. I think he's like in his mid to late teens, and you know, Zori Bliss is on the cover, so I'm assuming she plays a role, and I'm sure it's about their time like as Spice Runners or whatever. And then I want to say Babu Frick is also in the novel, and they probably spent some time on the planet Kijimi that we saw in Rise of Skywalker.
Cool. So we'll look forward to that. And then you'll be back on at 4 for Disney Parks Talk, right?
Disney Parks Talk, yeah, 4 o'clock. We'll talk about Downtown Disney and give a little update about that.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Mike. We'll be back next week, and we appreciate all your and you know, I just got to do it. If you're not listening to Who's the Boss, it's it's amazing. If you're not listening, I hope you're listening. You're there, but I mean, to everyone out there watching, it's we've actually gotten some great feedback from some influential folks about it. So Mike's doing a great job with that. So check that out. Who's the Boss? You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
I haven't heard this feedback, but I'll take your word for it.
Did I tell you about the feedback? Yeah, I did.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
If not, I'll tell you in just 10 seconds when I hit the podcast. But anyway, thanks so much for joining us. Bye, everybody.